Hello there, it's Laura Davalo here with a sweet, interactive, love-themed slimline card. When you lift the heart, a secret message appears, letter by letter or heart by heart. You can totally personalize your garland, but my recommendation is that you keep it relatively short, so that all of the hearts fit inside of the hidden container. If you have the dies that I used or similar ones, it's an easy card to make because you don't need to measure anything. I actually came up with this idea many years ago when making a Valentine's Day card for my husband, and this is just an improved version of it. Off camera, I stamped the pandas from the Panda Pal set on a piece of scratch paper just so that I could plan the placement of each element. I also prepared some masks, although with these images they aren't absolutely necessary. You could just darken the legs of the pandas to hide any overlapping lines. I just prefer using masks so that I can do some ink blending without worrying about the stamped images. Next we can use the Grassy Edges stencil and Sour Apple Premium Dye ink to do some light blending on the ground. For the sky, I went in with the Microcloud Edges and Tumbled Glass Distress ink. After peeling off the masks, we can do simple shading with Copic markers. I used W3 and 00 for the white parts of the fur and R00 with a touch of the colorless blender for the cheeks. I also added some fur texture with a mechanical pencil and a 0.2 pigment multiliner pen. The ground didn't turn out that great, so I added some shadows with a G12 marker and the colorless blender. I also used the Prismacolor pencil in apple green, PC912, to work on the grass blades. After the coloring was all done, I assembled the heart pieces, which I die cut with the Heart Race Dynamics out of red hot cardstock backed with score tape. I used the leftover or negative piece as a template to adhere the parts to another piece of red cardstock. I started with the largest piece just because it was impossible to adhere wonky, unlike the small curved piece. And so that my template wouldn't shift during the process, I adhered it with some tape. If you don't have a heart die, you could cover the hole with a balloon, a circle, or any large shape. Here I'm grabbing a piece of printer paper and my bone folder to rub the pieces and make sure that there are no strange gaps in between them. This way I won't mess up the embossing. Now all that is left to do is to trim the heart with a pair of scissors. I'm slightly tilting the blade so that there won't be an edge around the shape. We're going to need a second heart backed with score tape, so I'm going to use the template once more to draw the shape so that I can cut it with my scissors. You won't see it, so it doesn't have to be perfect. This element needs to be sturdy since we're going to adhere a couple of magnets to it, and since the receiver will have to grab it to lift it. The thin magnetic snaps that I'm using are by Basic Grey, but if you don't have them, you could use a piece of Velcro instead. I'm going to punch a couple of half-inch holes into the second heart piece that I cut, so that the magnets won't stand out too much from the back. And here I'm cutting a little slit with a craft knife in the middle of the heart so that I can thread my string or ribbon through it. In my stash I found this really thin reflective ribbon that you're supposed to sew or iron onto clothing, and it's perfect for this since it's flat and not bulky at all. You can use regular string like I did in the original card, but the hearts will rotate and they are more prone to getting intertwined. Whichever you choose, you need about 20 inches of it. Next, we can peel off the backing of the magnets and adhere them in their places. This adhesive is very strong and has never let me down before. Just try not to touch it too much or it will lose its effectiveness. Okay, we're now ready to finish the card panel. We just need to trace the outline of our heart with a pencil so that we can die cut an opening in it. I'm using one of the dies from the mail delivery Dynamics for this. If you don't have anything suitable, just use a craft knife. After erasing the pencil marks, I'm temporarily adhering the heart to the panel with some tape. It's time to adhere the other part of the magnetic snaps. I peel off the backing of the first one and it snaps into place, but the second one doesn't have adhesive on the correct side. No problem, we just peel off the whole thing and add some score tape to the other side of it. We can trim the extra tape with our scissors and we're done. Next, we'll add 2 layers of foam tape to the back of our panel. I've already added the most important piece right on the upper edge of the hole. This will impede the hearts from catching on it. To create more space, we could add a 3rd layer of tape, but I think it's just better to keep the message short. Okay, I've skipped ahead, and here I'm adding the last piece of tape before we move on to the garland itself. To keep the video short, I die cut the 16 hearts off camera. 8 of them are backed with score tape. I used the heart die from the Slimline Slide-In Dynamics, and for the letters I went with the Bitty Banner Alphabet Dynamics, also backed with score tape. I wasn't really sure how to do this, but decided to use the lines of the grid of my craft mat as a guide. The distance between each heart is about 3/8 of an inch. It was faster to adhere all of the sticky hearts to the ribbon in one go, flip it and cover them with the other ones. Okay, after finishing the garland, we need to thread it through the hole and straighten it so that we can adhere the end of it to the lower edge of our panel. It's always a good idea to temporarily adhere it with some tape so that it doesn't move and cause us to make a mistake. After exposing the foam tape, I'm adding a piece of score tape on top of the ribbon and folding it upwards a couple of times up and down so that it won't budge when we pull it. I'm putting back the backing of the foam tape because I want to apply some starch or baby powder to the edge of it. We wouldn't want our hearts to get stuck on some exposed adhesive. Okay, here I'm adhering the panel to my 7 by 8.5 inch card base of Eiffel Tower cardstock. Let's carefully peel off the tape and get rid of that last piece of backing paper. Now on to the most difficult part, to push the garland inside of the panel. My message is definitely too long, but I managed, and let's look at the effect once more before I say goodbye. If we wanted to minimize the risk of the hearts catching on the edge, we could add a strip of cute washi tape right on it. That way the hearts would slide over it perfectly. But it also works without it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Like and subscribe if you did, and remember to check out the description box for more information about this card. Bye bye, hasta la próxima.